Tanishikiawao, white, Kapiskis. Hello, bonjour, bonjour. Hi, everyone. Hello, and good afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Somebody has found the closed captions button. That's great. If it helps for you to have the AI generated text go across, you can find that with 3 dots at the bottom of your screen with more, and then the captions button. Also, if you're having any kind of tech problems or can't hear or can't see things, please use the chat and make sure your button is host and panelists is the default. You can also click everyone if you want to share something with the group, but if you need one of us, you can send a message to host and panelists and we can try and help you. Lovely that we're getting a waterfall here. We have nearly 200 people and the waterfall's filling in. So I'm really grateful that you're all here. And because we have limited time, I am going to just dive right in and get started here. Sorry, they might have been quite loud, but welcome. This is a spring virtual workshop series, and this is the 4th of June, and we are here for Métis learning for the summer solstice. Now, we told you that was going to be the last one to close, but we found that we had a friend who was just really excited to share with you. And so on June 11th, we're actually going to have a 30-minute little bonus workshop on songs for nature's playgrounds with Emily Ifsitz. And it's particularly great for younger students. So if you want to come and learn some great nature songs with us to really celebrate summer coming in and the end of spring, then please join us for that. But we're here today to spend time with the wonderful Leah Marie Dorion in Métis Learning for the Summer Solstice. And it is National Indigenous History Month today. Sorry, this month. And something that we have been thinking about and celebrating. And I wish I had a picture that showed exactly what happened today. But I'll talk about this as I introduce you, Leah. But the dandelions have been out in full force because it is raining so hard here. So we've had this just deeply prolonged dandelion season, and it's bringing me so much joy, that yellow color. And apparently there is this sort of scientific principle as well that yellow is uplifting, and I feel like it has to be that the medicine of that plant, which most people think is a weed, but it's just this deeply medicinal and giving plant, that all of these things are the same thing. And I think this is Otis. I know I'm just, all my pictures got my little dog in. He's a Sasky boy. He came from Saskatchewan. But he has been really enjoying looking into the river and seeing the changes in the flow as the spring freshet comes, and seeing that we had some small kokanee fish coming up, and then seeing that in amongst all of these rocks, some of the ephemeral plants are starting to grow. And I think in this moment, my land acknowledgement, which is I'm very excited because the elders and people from the Sinixt, the people of the Bull Trout, whose traditional territory I live on, this is Sinhuitqua. Sinhuitqua is the swift river in the Selk'nam language. I can see it from my house. And this river is going to be traveled by her Indigenous people next week over 2 days. They'll be where I am in Skeekton, which is their word for Revelstoke, where the ridge lines meet the water, which you can see in this photograph. And I'm volunteering as part of that paddle, which will go from where we are, which is the further northest part of the territory, all the way down to Kettle Falls in what's now Washington, to travel the length of that special and sacred river. And so I get to participate in that next week. And I think what I wanted to share with you, and also this place is special, sacred, has stories, language, and sisters from the Shukwatam, the Okanagan Silks, and the Tanakha First Nations, each special and unique in their own right. It's also the chosen home here of many Métis people, many charter communities, particularly the Shuswap Métis Association is our closest. But I think what I'm really just deeply grateful for in these moments is that there are beautiful events happening that are acknowledged and celebrated in communities and more and more by non-Indigenous people in my community specifically. I can only talk to that. But that there are opportunities for you and me as a non-Indigenous person to step out of just celebrating verbally or with books or reading resources, which is super important, but to visit and spend time and participate in Indigenous-led events. And so that is my personal joys. I'm so grateful that that's an opportunity for me and that I cannot wait to spend time there next week and in this month in various different spaces. But I also encourage you to maybe look out if there's something that you can participate in and visit in and see and feel that experience for yourself, because it's special. And Otis will be there cheering as well. He gets very excited in the boat, so we'll see how it goes. But that is my gratitude for this moment. We also have curated with our Indigenous advisors 21 Indigenous learning resources that you can use to deepen your understanding during this month. And part of that includes some of the amazing resources like this amazing course that Leah will be sharing this summer that dives deeper into connecting to the land the Métis way. And that will be in that meeting format. So there will be a little bit more opportunity for interaction. Also, we have these amazing resource kits and Métis learning. And I today read your book, Leah. I was training a bunch of recreational summer staff this morning, and we opened with Métis and Dandelions. And we held Dandelions and we spoke with them and we were engaged in that place. And I have done a reading with educators and students of Relative with Roots, where we acted out the story and really connected deeply with it. And so there are some very beautiful resources out there to engage, and it's how I like to start any program that I do now. Another friend of ours, we had to share about this, Dr. Robin Wall-Kimmerer is and has just about launched a new book, which is just divine, around abundance and reciprocity in the natural world. So we're very excited. There's so many wonderful resources. And of course, if you haven't signed up yet, we are sharing 4 seasons of Indigenous learning, a year-long personal journey towards truth and reconciliation, a year-long lifelong journey with live workshops and online learning opportunities that are based around your knowledge level. We would really love for you to join us if that felt good. Steph, my wonderful friend, is here to co-host with me.
Hi, thanks. Great to be here. I could say Minuilam, come in. I hope you're all feeling comfortable and ready to learn and share wherever it is you're joining from. I've seen a lot of people in the chat already saying hello and introducing themselves and the lands that they're calling in from, which is always lovely. And I'm the program manager for now for Take Me Outside. This is actually my last workshop that I'll be helping co-host with Jade. And we also have Rachel here from Take Me Outside as I'm passing the baton a little bit. And if you need me, I will be in the chat helping with resources and tech issues and also collecting your questions as they come up. Please feel free to type them in the chat or the question and answer box. As they come up, we will pose them at the end as time allows. And just really grateful to be here with you all. I love to hear about the dandelion hype that people hold, because every time I see someone spraying them in their yard, it makes me so sad. They're such a wonderful plant. And I recently saw some honeysuckle yesterday on a walk where I was walking along the river, and that was one I hadn't seen yet today. And the Swainson's thrush have arrived back home here for the summer in Duncan on Vancouver Island where I live, and that's called sometimes the salmonberry bird because it means the salmon berries are ripening, which is very exciting for me. And so Duncan is the traditional territory of the Kawatsin Nation, the Cowichan tribes, the Hulkaminam speaking people. And when I said Minuilam earlier, that was Hulkaminam. And so always happy to try to inject a little bit of Hulkamita where I can, and learning as my one small part of being on the land here. So I will pass the baton back to Jade for now, and we'll get going into the meat and potatoes of it all very soon.
Thanks so much, Steph. Working with you has been the greatest pleasure. but I'm very excited that you're going into a life of spending more time with the land. So I really am proud and stoked for you. I will miss you though. Oh, Rachel's here too. You're coming in. I don't know if you've got time to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I do. Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm the Education and Outreach Coordinator for Take Me Outside. So I'm coming to you from Treaty 1 territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I'm a high school educator and work part-time for Take Me Outside. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here with you all. I was just saying before you all joined that here in Winnipeg, we've gotten a lot of needed rain this spring. And, as much as people have complained about the rain and how wet and moist it is, oh, that word, but, everything is just like so green and lush. And all of my plants are so happy, and my ferns have just taken over my front yard. So, trying to find, the beauty in all the wet moisture that we've had come. So, yeah.
That's so lovely. I like that. Find the beauty in every moment. Okay, really quickly, we're just going to do our thing and see who's joining us. So I'm going to open up our where are you joining us from? I'm going to launch this one independently because I want to see a little bit because we've been mostly joining from different parts of Turtle Island or North America. So I've split it here into more of the reasons. If you're not in what's now known as Canada or the United States, please share in the chat where you're from. Of course, these are the colonial names. There's limited boxes. Okay, I'm going to just leave it open. It's got over 250 people here. I'm just going to leave it for just 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm going to end that poll and share the results. So a lot of folks from Western Canada joining us, but somewhere, each of the boxes, we have someone from somewhere. So I am so excited. This is a community, and I know we can't see your faces, but every message you write in the chat, every time you turn up for this, we are building community and you matter. And so we're deeply grateful that you join us for these and that we're doing this work together. It's beautiful. Okay, and then I think this is the right one. Oh, it won't let me launch it. Okay, can you share in the chat who you are as an educator? Are you a K-3 educator, 4 to 6, early childhood? Are you a recreational museum person, admin person, support worker, scouts, mother, the greatest educator of all, the first perhaps? After the land, or mother first, then land? That's like a chicken and an egg thing there. Brilliant. Yes, waterfall, Indigenous education supporters, lovely library, farm folk. Welcome everyone. I love seeing the diversity. A probation parole person. I love that. Land as teacher, land as medicine, and an opportunity to use that knowledge to help people feel better in their lives. How amazing. Adult learning. Oh, this is great. And I can tell that this session is going to be a really fantastic one for those who might be teaching older people because of the way that Leah shares. But anywho, I won't ruin it. Look, I'm going to keep going because we want to get to the juicy bit. So many people care about this work. We have tons and tons, nearly 100 outdoor learning partners and advisors from across Turtle Island and beyond who are here with resources, possible funding, opportunities to connect. So please check them out because they care deeply about this. And if you're excited and loving these free workshops and you want to dive deeper, we do have a 30-hour outdoor learning certification that's online, self-paced, and a monthly get-together. That's an opportunity to connect. Okay, we've come to the best bit. And I'll introduce Leah and then I'll do my offering. But Leah Marie Dorion is a Métis artist, author, curriculum developer, lecturer, and researcher. She's taught Métis history and Native studies for the First Nations University of Canada, the Gabriel Dumont Institute, and the University of Saskatchewan. She's a professional visual artist of these beautiful books that you'll see. It's your art as well as your words, and a former instructor at the Saskatchewan Urban Native Teacher Education Program. And your artwork celebrates strength and resilience of Indigenous women and families. And I have a tobacco gift for you here. And as I was wrapping this and thinking about this offering of gratitude, and it's so interesting because we met months ago in the computer space and had a quick meeting, you know, Zoom to try and connect about doing this work. And I had read all of the books basically that you had published, and I was falling so deeply in love with your work and the way that you tell stories that has engaged so many different people. And so my gift for you today is not just for this learning in this moment, but actually for the years of love and energy that you've provided to the kids that have opened my mind to Métis and Indigenous knowledge, and for your just general joy and enthusiasm for everything that we have participated in, that you show up with. And so I'll offer my deep, deep gratitude to you in this gift.
Masi, it's so beautiful to accept the tobacco. It's so meaningful to me. Tobacco is something that I do use and I have a deep relationship to. And, you know, I have put tobacco down so many times at important parts of my life, and especially around the work I do. So when that tobacco, I know you're going to send it to me, that particular offering, and I'm going to put it on the land here in Saskatchewan, you know, to continue that good learning about the land that we all share and that we all need to connect with. So Chimasi, Jade, and to your organization for all that you do. Masi.
Masi. We'll pass it over and hide now and spotlight you.
That sounds great. Lots to share. Such a beautiful time. And again, it's a special month. This is a month. It's such an energetic month. You know, summer solstice is just approaching us so quickly. And, you know, it's a special time for our community, you know, from all the different relatives, our nations. Solstice is a time where that sun energy peaks and where there's so much gathering and renewal and celebration of cycles. And I am so happy that in July, I actually get to go through the beautiful energy of summer and offer some programming as well related to Métis content. So for me, this is solstice and the moons they teach so much to us. And when we really look at the Indigenous worldview, we can go deeper in seeing that perspective. And anything to grow the circle around us, I believe, is just so important to do. And I hope today when I share, I'd love to do a reading of my Métis and Dandelions, because this beautiful medicine plant is a complete part of the Métis identity. I live currently near Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, along the beautiful North Saskatchewan River. Saskatchewan is a swift-flowing river, and it was so nice to hear about your river in BC also being acknowledged as a very, you know, directional river with speed, direction, guidance. And I love the fact that for me, I come from that river Métis identity. You know, it's part of our people through the generations, the river highway, the trading culture. And to me, water brings us all together. And I've done a lot of work in my art career, my teaching career, and anything that I do to help share a little bit of the Métis worldview, different Métis perspectives and to show my Métis perspective, just my little corner of the Métis world. There's a big Métis community in this nation from coast to coast, and with little nuances. We're as diverse as all our Indigenous relatives, and we have unique nuances depending on the land where we live. So I always filter everything I do through the Saskatchewan, Central Saskatchewan Métis lens, and it goes into my work, to my art, to my illustrations that I do. So I'm very pleased that the children's books that I have created were created so that teachers and educators and people who are interested in seeing a Métis window to the world had that beautiful, gentle, compassionate, loving book to guide them to another place, to go for that moment in time into the Métis world through the Métis art and through my writing style, which is really birthed out of love for the Métis elders in my community, my family. I have been so blessed in my life to be surrounded by beautiful Métis elders, language speakers, and very compassionate people who have dedicated their life to sharing Métis perspectives and worldviews and Métis teachings. So the July workshop that I plan on doing, I really want to dive into some practical Métis worldview concepts and do activities, do brainstorming, do that real, how can I support you to present this information and take it to your part where you're working, where you're teaching, where you're living, and share that Métis point of view in your offerings to your community. And then it brings us all together, in that circle where we all need to come together to create that harmony, the balance, and that energy of change that just starts to roll forward. I always think of the cartwheel turning and growing that momentum and going on that adventure, going on that journey. So my writing has been so fulfilling to me because I can take the knowledge that I've had the honor of listening to and listening to the elders. I can write and take that knowledge and write it, but I can also use visual expressions to really enhance the written material, because that's where the two worlds come together for me. And being Métis, I am so happy because we've taken from the two worlds always. We're like that beautiful Métis symbol. We take from both cultures and then find that center and create new expressions. We are a culture that values innovation, creativity, finding the middle ground, bringing people from two different places together in a centered way to learn from each other. We are like the diplomatic hosts. We are the people who like to start the party. We like to bring people to eat together, and we like to trade. And it's part of what we do. And our legacy in Canada is a networking, communicative people who really, really, really wanted to bring people together in reciprocity and sharing and growth. And I think that's one of the beautiful things is our culture has given us permission to innovate. I think of archaeology in my community. We have a lot of beautiful archaeological sites around our North Saskatchewan River. And I loved some of the excavations by our local museum and the collection. So I go in the museum and they talk about how there's such an interesting mix where there's Métis artifacts and Métis occupation. You'll see still the handmade arrowheads made with the local materials. And then you see forged iron, and you even see Métis taking old iron items, learning the blacksmith skills and making them into little arrowheads for still using with bow and arrow. And you can really see this two worlds coming together in the Métis worldview through innovation, learning a new skill, working with iron and forging, and then the old flint knapping and making bow and arrows. And you see that in our Métis archaeological history, is that mixing and that innovation. And our Red River cart, our York boats are all examples of taking the skill set of the two worlds. And I know I'm a carpenter's daughter. My dearest father was a Métis trapper hunter from Cumberland House, Saskatchewan, born on Cumberland Island, a paddler, canoeer, loved the land. And he was so creative and innovative. And he used, his carpentry skills and then his traditional knowledge skills, and always found these beautiful ways to bring the worlds together. And I always found that so beautiful about the Métis old people, is they were so adamant about learning new things and integrating it, and doing things in a new way, but rooted, in the two worlds. So it's an exciting culture to have that permission to be creative. And I take that to my children's books. I use acrylic paint, I use modern materials, but I use Métis symbols like the sash, the flag, the cart, the flower beadwork, all those repeating patterns that are historically Métis. The Hudson Bay Company blanket and those little things end up in there as well. And I take that, the color, the expression, all those styles, and I put them into my modern artwork. So my artwork has a real distinct Métis flair, and I know a lot of teachers like to use my art as artist study, because they can really see that contemporary expression, but there's that rooted traditional composition, content, and approach. And I think that's one of the things that I love to do, is I like to help teachers, explore Métis arts, explore our way, my particular way I've adapted from looking and knowing my Métis traditional cultural arts. And then it's one window, and you get to learn how different Métis across Canada have these unities, bright colors, repeating patterns, beadwork influence. And you can see the different interpretations of modern artists, but yet grounded in this beautiful offering of cultural expressive arts through the generations passed to us from our ancestors. So I love all the different levels of writing that I've been able to do. I've written a lot for K-12. And the book I want to share is definitely elementary school, but I've had old people in my community the old people, but that's the true test, is kids and old people, when they sit and they look at it and they go, oh, beautiful metaphor, Leah. You really captured our heart and soul for the land. And the Métis and Dandelions book was so important to me, because working with old people, Dandelions was a big part of their identity, the older generation. My father and the older people, older than my father, the grandparents, dandelions were such a big part of the welcome of spring and the acknowledgement of the cyclical change, the seasonal change, an indicator of what's to come, that you are moving through a new cycle. And the old people were so metaphorical. They loved to make comparisons. We've been compared to strawberries, wild strawberries, and it's strawberry moon in June. The full moon is right near the summer solstice. It's a very strong energy time. And I've heard old people call us Métis, we're like wild strawberries. We send out those little runners, and then we reconnect to the land, because we have had such a mobile culture following the river and having that mobility. And we're like the strawberry plant, putting that roots down and making those connections, and reintroducing ourselves to the land, and integrating into the new communities, and making new kinship connections along the way. So this, before I read our little dandelions, this is my strawberry moon Métis painting here that I just finished, and it really speaks to that metaphor of strawberries and resilience, and some of the grand metaphors that the old people use to grow the self-esteem of Métis children, and really teach about the land, but teach culture as well. So here's the mama plant. Look at her abundance. I love her trifold leaves. The old people used to tell us, I remember my dad teaching me to really look at a plant's parts, and to touch, to smell, to feel, to observe, to look for pattern. Dad was so patient. He used nature. He was fluent in Cree before he was fluent in English, like learned English. And he was really trained with an Indigenous observation method, and this beautiful gentleness of observe before engaging. And as I get older, I understand how important. I love that method. It really does create less stress I used to jump in too quick and then, oh my goodness. But here's mother strawberry. And then at the base, there's the runners to the new daughters, the new children that mother plant creates. She sends out runners, and then these little babies start to grow their roots to the earth. The mother plant gives that support. It's like the umbilical cord. It's a metaphor like for human birth as well. And then once these little baby plants they're strong enough, they got their roots going down, this little umbilical cord will actually dry up and fall away. And then that new plant emerges, and till its cycle becomes one of maturity, growth. So it's just a real beautiful, we need to know where we come from. We need to know the land around us and the species around us. They give us roots, they give us understanding, they give us teachings. And that's what the old people really said. There's patterns in nature that help us humans live well and live strong and live in balance. And if we just take the time to sit with, observe patterns, their wisdom is waiting for us. And that's such an important thing that I've treasured in my life. And if I want to learn about a goose, I will go sit and observe them. I take my sketchbook, and I encourage all of you, we're going to talk about this in the July program as well, sketching and watching something you want to represent, research it, observe it in its natural environment, and then do your extra research on top of that to train your knowledge on many levels. And when you sit and observe, you see pattern, you see a behavior. I just love watching when the little goslings are hatched and the two parents work to keep them safe, and they teach them, and they all swim in this beautiful line. It's like the ants go marching 2 by 2, hurrah. You just got this little order. They're all going, and they work as a team, and there's this beautiful care and love and order and pattern and responsibility, and the parents working so well together in harmony that I've had to sketch that little duckling swim line with the two parents one on the front, one on the back, because it's just brings joy to my heart, and again, it is a human being. I think of how, and I was so blessed to have both my parents actively parent me in my life. I watched them parent together like those geese and be that team and help us little ducklings get our swim going with a direction and a destination in mind. So I know time is going quickly, but I do want to give you the beautiful little Métis and Dandelions metaphor. I really stress the strawberry, and of course the strawberry. I just saw on the chat the heartberry. All the old people in the language, I think of our Anishinaabe relatives too, not just our Creek speakers out here in our area. They talk about the heartberry, and that it is about the heart, and it is so teaches us so much about going through the heart, not just the head, but the heart, and that, community heart. There's just so many levels to it that I encourage people to always reach out to elders and knowledge keepers who have those teachings. I know that there are so many elders doing those beautiful teachings. And just a little shout out to Wabano Center for Aboriginal Health. One of the I've seen them do a lot of work in the community to educate, and they have videos online as well about some of the Indigenous worldview teachings around heartberries. So Métis and Dandelions, as you can see in the illustrations, there is a lot of body language of connection, of love, and grounding in the human figures. I love to put lots of grounding below the people that I draw, the bodies that I represent. And I usually often extend a lot of shapes. Like I've got them holding hands, but there's almost like a feel of a heart between them. So I really consciously design to really hammer down the messages and the feeling, the emotional component, and the symbolism that's in the cultural teachings. And any of the staff, if keep me on task, because I can tend to keep going. So if you need to give me time signatures, I have no problem. This is published by Strong Nations Publishing. It's in the purchasable kit that they're going to send you the link to, and they have all that on the website, and I'm sure people participating will get more information. Strong Nations I worked with them to do the artwork, and I love this little scene of kids blowing dandelions when they go to seed. Such a good memory for me. And I still see kids, they'll go out and grab it and blow those seeds to the wind, and they really are a magical plant for children's imaginations for sure. So I did the story and illustrated it. So I'm going to read it. Enjoy. And if you have paper, doodle, sketch this whole time. You know, I'm a fan of, like, I think it just opens up a part of your imagination. It's non-linear. You know, you go to places when you're just listening and doodling and sketching and learning. So if you have paper and you feel like doodling the whole time, please do. So let's get started. Dandelions in prairie fields far and wide, yellow dandelions stand together side by side. European settlers introduced dandelions to Turtle Island soil long ago. They now grow everywhere and thrive best in places where the soil has been disturbed. Like determined Métis traders on a trade expedition, wind-blown dandelion seeds travel over hills and valleys. Dandelions spread quickly throughout their new homeland, similar to Métis peoples. Dandelions have grown deep roots to this land. And of course, just a point of the art, there's lots of root symbolism, and there's a Métis sash, and the little guy here is wearing a Métis sash around the waist. So there's lots of like Métis cultural symbols in the clothing and in the art. Dandelions are always searching for a place to be their home. They are adaptable and strong with a warm disposition. They have characteristics similar to Métis people. And again, I'm kind of spoke earlier about the Métis cultural hosting and connecting people, and the culture of visiting and trading and creating a space for good relationships. From a Métis point of view, dandelions are not an ugly invasive weed. Rather, dandelions are a form of medicine or unedible green. Elegant and strong from tap root to razor-toothed leaf, the dandelion is a hardy perennial. It can survive extreme conditions just like those faced by generations of Métis people. And you know, for those teachers who have heard of the history of the Métis, we've had a pretty intense history, and we have literally fought Canada in 1885 at Batoche over our land rights, our culture, our language, and maintaining it. And we went into, you know, conflict over wanting to keep our language, culture, and our communities intact. So we really have been kind of that strong, you know, resilient, you know, real stand-up type of people in our history. And it hasn't always been an easy one, of course. Dandelions symbolize freedom and joy, qualities valued by Métis people. Bright yellow flowers with lime green leaves, dandelions invite the pollinators, bugs, and bees. After a long winter sleep, dandelions provide a fresh nectar drink to the first spring bees. Just like the Métis people, they share food and drink with the greater community. Children love this special plant. They pop off the dandelion flower heads so they can use the hollow stems to make a magnificent chain link necklace. The Métis people believe anything is possible with the use of imagination and creativity. Dandelions can be braided into a glorious flower crown or a beautiful bracelet. Bouquets of dandelions are given to someone to acknowledge that they are loved. Dandelions remind us that everyone belongs to the land. And that is the little metaphor of Métis and dandelions. And at the back, I actually do have I'll learn to draw a dandelion, like literally in how many 6 steps. There's a little dandelion instruction to make a beautiful little dandelion. So the books that I have done in this series, I do try to give a lot of teacher support activities to enhance the learning at the classroom level. And I think that's one of the things I've really enjoyed doing, especially in the Strong Nation series and even the Gabriel Dumont Institute. They allowed me, the publishers allowed me to put enhanced information at the back of my books, like glossaries and art activities and just other devices to show the context of story. For instance, in my Métis and Bison book, the Gabriel Dumont went and got permission from Batoche Historic Park to put Métis artifacts that are known to be used by Métis buffalo hunters, and they got permission. So the art in my book, there's actually the real living artifacts to show. So when I represent a drinking horn, you know, some of the Métis used to use the horn to drink from. There's a real one in the back, and then they can see the bladder bag to carry water. So I'm just so grateful that the publishers have allowed me to contextualize my art, my story with the material culture, artifacts, and other supplementary material to help teachers grow confidence to tackle some of the Métis content in their teaching practice and give them pretty well, you know, a creative license to take it and then tweak it so that they can make those connections with their students that they're sharing this Métis content with. And it's really nice to see non-Indigenous educators take the books and get that comfort with using the books that I've created to grow their teaching practice and help their students learn, you know, some of this world view, these expressive arts expressions, these patterns that are so Métis. The symbols embedded in my artwork are very Métis. And it's just, I try to help teachers, you know, have that confidence to do these important pieces, because I really do feel that there's still so much work to educate Canadian society about Métis and our very dynamic history, because we do predate Canada's formation. We predate, you know, the creation of Canada, and we were here before that. And so we've been here a long, long time. And I still think there's so much work to do to educate the greater Canadian society about some of the Métis roles, and that we're still here, we're still growing, we're like dandelions. We're still going forward, and we are adapting, and we are certainly, you know, wanting to share our story with the rest of the world as well. So the kit that you will see on the link, I will be kind of using a lot of my books in the July program. It's a 4-week program to help educators, you know, come up with some activities, kind of book extension ideas, lots of brainstorming and thinking about how to take some of this content and make it, present it to your community, your students, use it in your outdoor ed programs or your teaching practice in many ways. So it's exciting. I do have more work on the go. I always have people ask me, what are you ever going to be coming up with more books? And absolutely, I've been doing a lot of early years books, and I do have a new series that I'm going to be coming up with Strong Nations Publishing on Vancouver Island. We're going to do another set of 8. So I'm constantly working on, there's so many gaps to fill, and I need to keep sharing. There's so much more to tell. And I think, you know, if you want to follow my work, it's pretty well out there. You know, I'm pretty well known. My publisher, Gabriel Dumont Institute, has a very good support system. My work can be accessed there. The Outdoor Learning's been promoting the literature. And of course, Strong Nations Publishing has been a very important Indigenous publisher to share some of the Métis content through my artistic practice. So summer is just a really beautiful time of action, energy. And I love the fact that the color yellow is just such a big part of that, the Dandelions book, because really we are getting more hours of sunlight, that yellow hue and that warmth. And it's just, yellow is one of my favorite colors. I think a lot of students, when I come to speak at a school, they're like, "What's your favorite color, Miss Dorion, Madame Dorion?" And I'm like, "Yellow. I love yellow. It's the warmth and just, it just, there's something about that sun. But I also love the moon, earth, sun integration, their energies. There's such a time and place for everything. And all cycles have so much to teach, so much to teach. And I do like to be warm because I live here in central Saskatchewan and it gets pretty cold. So when you have a warm summer day, you suck it in completely because 40 below is a very big reality for months at a time, sometimes in central Saskatchewan. So treasure these beautiful moments. And another thing that I have been really called to do is I've been really called to do children like coloring books. I do have a Mother Earth coloring and activity book that I self-published, and that is now being distributed by Gabriel Dumont Institute. I've always wanted to grow the artistic skills of students and through my Métis style of practice. So I really do a lot of self-publishing as well, and some learn to draw, because I feel that there's some basic skills that are really important to grow at a young age. And doodling is one, but my Mother Earth coloring activity, I have like a learn to draw some basic pictographs, because I feel that there is a place for those simple, elegant, beautiful drawing styles. And then you build from that. Once you have a pattern, you can grow from your base pattern. And as a sewer and whatnot, I find that once you learn your base pattern, you can innovate and add to it and make it your own and put your signature style in it. And that's what I always tell the kids: put your signature you. You can emulate another artist. You can have role models, but can you put the signature you? What are you going to tweak to make it you? And that is a message I really like to encourage, is getting young people to put a little identity spin of them when they're learning something new. So they're not just repeating and mimicking like verbatim. How do they spin their own style into it and their own identity, and make their own little dent in the world? We need everyone in this circle to be expressive. So that's always fun. And I have great conversations with kids, like, how do you want to sign your work? And some come up with the most coolest things once I do talk about putting your signature style, a little bit of you. We need you. You have so much to express. How do you want to tell your story to the world? How do you want to be recognized? And it's so much fun at having those conversations with kids. I've had some just do a fun thumbprint or have a special way that they want to sign. So it really you get to know young people when you have those type of conversations. So I don't know how I'm doing for time. I'm sure the staff is probably going, we need to have Q&A. So I better get everybody, better back off. I could just go and go. But we got July's program to do more. So I'll just take a break.
Absolutely. Marcy, Leah, it's so beautiful. And I love, it's like, how could you tell a story behind a story behind a story? You're just sharing that beautiful dandelion story, but then it's connected to strawberries and it's connected to the history and traditions, but also about how we innovate and how you're still here creating. It's not just old knowledge, it's new and evolving. And I'm very inspired whenever you speak. I don't know if this is what I've been sketching.
Oh, I absolutely so joyful. Look at the cycles too, and the heart. One of my favorite symbols is the heart.
Well, you were talking about mother teachings and strawberry teachings, and I just got back from a trip with my mum, who lives on the other side of an ocean, so I don't get to see her anywhere near as much as I would love to. But that strawberry relationship, and when you talk about the umbilical cord releasing, and she worked very hard to feel comfortable to send me out into the world, and in fact to choose somewhere else to live. But when we're together, that deep bond and that connection and that pride in all the lessons I've taken from her and shared, that felt very particularly meaningful to me. So thank you so much for that beautiful heart message. And yeah, lovely teachings. There's been so many questions. And so I will just have time for a couple here. Deanna asked, how did you get interested in publishing your stories? Like what sparked the first book? What gave you the spark?
Oh, yeah. I guess almost a sense of urgency watching older generations passing and working with the older people, and then they're taking their stories, their teachings with them. There was the oral tradition, yes, but there wasn't the real legacy piece that would, keep going. And I just made a commitment to myself that I would, feel in the honor of those old people, would take that knowledge and get in the form of children's books. To me, children's books are just a way to make a great legacy piece, and you're getting an audience, that receptive, beautiful audience at such an informative stage where they're so curious. And so it was really also growing up in Saskatchewan and getting my education here, K to 12, later university. And because of my age, there was just no content of Métis people in my whole education. And if there was, it was so negative and misrepresented that it didn't match my family stories. It didn't match my lived experience. And it was just kind of shocking. And so I knew there was so much work to do. And I just didn't want any other kid to go through that. So, when I became a mother as well, I really hammered it out. I'm like, made it a priority to work on children's books. I do a lot of more sophisticated adult work. Yes, I've done a Métis style ribbon skirt book for more adult, sewers, and especially the Métis community coming to our style of ribbon skirt, our high plains historic pattern. But I really still make that space for children, even though I work with other more adult level projects as well. I'll never give up the literature for children. Never. It's so important to do.
That's so beautiful. And actually, I was working with adults today but training them to deliver this work to children, and these are the books that we're going to introduce and things. But I was amazed at so many of those. Some of them are Canadian, some of them were born somewhere else and have come here, but a lot of that knowledge was new and just loving for them. So it's like the knowledge goes back up the tree, doesn't it? It goes out into their families. And
exactly. And I have seen so many Métis people I know, like Alberta, Manitoba, like they're here. Hi, Métis community. They're here today to support me. And I thank you. I just saw Heather LaRose and Trina just popped up. And these are Métis power women younger than me. I'm getting older people, and they're going to take the helm here. So there's Heather. She just popped up, another Métis teacher. So, we're in good shape. And it's just, with people like that in our community, willing to work with people in your circle of outdoor learning and the greater community, I think we're in good hands. There's going to be a lot of joy of sharing. I just think there's so much joy in learning from each other.
It's so exciting to go into, like, especially something like leading in a celebration month, going into a solstice of just having this optimism and seeing the power, and it's not to diminish the difficulties and struggle, but that also to just acknowledge and uplift that power and the presence. I'm so inspired. It's really amazing. So thank you.
And the creativity that people can hook in. I'm hoping everybody makes some artistic time, because it's going to be busy. It's like such an exciting energy time. You know what I mean? And so I'm hoping some people who may put off their creativity just do make some time. See what comes out.
And from a
Jade, your
personal,
work is beautiful. Your doodles just are absolutely gorgeous. They're from the heart and they have such a beauty in them.
that's so sweet. And someone else said something nice in the chat, but you know what I had? I had a grade 7 art teacher who told me I didn't have creative talent and that should give up. And I know that there are less and less teachers like that in the world now,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
see beautiful teachers around me. But it scarred me for 20 years, and I have only just started to pick up paint, pencils, anything that wasn't with words. I knew I was creative, but
Yeah.
and I'm just overcoming that barrier now. And so I encourage anyone who thinks they're not an artist, you are, because you participate. It doesn't have to be good. And even if you don't see it as good, others will probably think it's beautiful and special.
That's
and
right.
so maybe we should, at some point, maybe on the course, we can create a collage of people's
Yes.
imagery and
Oh,
share.
absolutely. When you have like a 4-week learning course, it's so much easier to like week to week really build and then do some makerspace type things and really share, things people are working on.
Beautiful. I know it's sort of running out of time, and I know
Yep.
there were so many questions, but I'm going to answer just one more, maybe two. Alex asked, is there anything in particular that Métis people do, or that in your tradition specifically, to celebrate the solstice, or is there some way that we can go forth into that knowledge?
Well, I think it's just the time we get solstice, that height. Like it's just so beautiful, very personal as well. But it kicks off. We have this big community celebration called Back to Batoche Days. It's always in July. It's always after June solstice, and then boom! As soon as school's out, we make our way. We pilgrimage to Batoche, and we come together as a big Métis community from all these directions. And for us, it's like a classic gathering. And it seems like the planning for it starts like right now, like getting really excited. People are starting to make their plans to meet up with other people for Batoche. And, it's just such a nice way that we know it's coming. And the solstice kind of kicks up our season of gathering as Métis community members.
I love that. It's the time for gathering. How beautiful. One of the things that I feel like I'm getting from different mentors and things as well is that, like, in these moments of special cyclical significance, of like creating your own customs within that honors your relationship with the land.
Yeah.
And it can be like a special space. And for me, that is, I try and read new stories and learn like the Indigenous names of my languages here, and speaking to like a new relative out on the land each time. And so it's becoming like this time of like deep awareness for me. It's my personal interpretation.
Oh, well, the old people be so proud of you, because talking to all nature is not beyond this is just normal. And but it's not normal for everyone. It's just not normal to do diplomatic relations with the tree or the water and ask permission and introduce yourself to a non-human entity. That tobacco too, it just, there's so much that it witnesses your communication with the bigger world and the universe. Like, yeah, there's much to explore. And it's exciting because it really, when you see the world and you see it in this Indigenous way of relating and seeing spirit in things, it's hard to cause harm, to destroy. There's a gentleness that is created, and you really start to consciously act before engaging with the land, with the trees, with the water, with all life. It really is it's a very compassionate practice that's embedded in a lot of the cultural teachings. So I'm really happy to do that and share that, especially relatives with roots. It really does talk about protocols and how it helps that bond and spirit bond, which is, kind of mysterious. It's mysterious, but it's in our way, we know it exists.
Oh, and then when I was reading that book for the first time with other people, with other educators, like a training, and we were asking each other questions about what it meant to us and how it reflected on ourselves. I think, and even more so from spending this last hour with you. So thank you. But I feel like you have such a diversity of being able to build connections with so many different people in your language, in your visual, in your spirit that you exude when you're presenting. And so I've like my deepest gratitude for all of the different layers, because I'm like twinkling over here. I'm feeling like deeply rooted down here. And maybe I'm dandelion. I'm going to float around for the rest of my evening. But it is 5 o'clock.
Okay.
And so we have to, I do want to honor everyone's time. I want to honor your time. So I will say, miigwech, merci, deeply for your time and wonder. And join us in July, if you can, for that 4-part course, because it's gonna be magic. And there is, next week, July 11th, we do have a 30-minute little sing-along together for the nature. I'm gonna just very, very quickly choose 4 fantastic winners. Stay around for 30 more seconds. Just 1 second. We're going to give away 2 gift cards to the Outdoor Learning Store. That's $25 gift cards. The first person is Shelby Smith. Shelby Smith. Thank you for being here. We'll find your email and we will send you a gift card via email. Second winner, Anna Leal. Anna Leal. That's the second $25 gift card coming to you. Scrolling. Andrew Brobin. Andrew Brobin, you've won a $25 gift card to the Take Me Outside store, nonprofit store. And last but not least is Christina Garner. Christina Garner, you're the 4th and final gift card to the Take Me Outside store. Thank you so much for being here. We hope you've enjoyed it. I've particularly really enjoyed this evening, and I wish you a wonderful evening, and we'll see you again soon. Limt, goodbye.